Hello and welcome everyone to episode 77 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host and freelance letterer at Shonen Jump, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm, of course, the letterer behind manga like Dragon Ball Super Kaiju number 8. And as we mentioned on the show last week, my new series, Wild Strawberry, just came out. If you're listening to this, there's probably 2 or 3 chapters of it right now. Yeah, I think chapter 2 comes out tomorrow. So, I don't know. It's just, you know what? It's a good series. It's more of the same. Read it.
Yeah, I mean, I did actually check out the first chapter just out of curiosity, and that's a wild hook.
Yeah, it's bleak, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh my God. So yeah. I'm curious. I've not read it myself, but I wonder if like people it's not definitely not as deranged yet. But I can see people getting a bit of a Chainsaw Man vibe from this.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's definitely a bit of Chainsaw Man, a bit of Tokyo Ghoul kind of in there. It's kind of with like a darker shonen. So, the reception seems to have been largely positive from the first chapter, which makes me happy. So, hopefully this will stick around and it'll be something.
See, what we needed was this podcast when you were doing the Red Hood.
Red Hood, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, oh God, I don't remember the timeline on that. No, I think that might have been over by the time we started. I don't remember. Yeah, that would do it.
Yeah. Oh,
despite all of my pushing it, because it is good, but
yeah. But you know what? We still have some good manga to read because holy hell, this is
I mean, Water 7 just delivers. It always delivers
consistently. Just I don't think we've had one of those like this felt a little weak or this didn't really much happen. Like no, it's just been on at all times.
Every set of chapters has been my favorite set of chapters.
It's amazing how naturally it just ramps up. Like we even had falling action last week, but it was still fascinating. And to see the conclusion to that this week is like, oh my God.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of good stuff into it. So I'm ready to get into it.
So chapter 356, Mr. Tom. And last time we left off in the flashback, it was pretty obvious that Spandam was using Franky's battle Frankies that he'd been leaving behind over the years to basically commit an assault against the judicial ship, and we know exactly what he's attempting to do with this, and it's just sort of
of course
seeing it the fallout where it's the panic of the judicial ship being on fire, people getting injured, people running away, like things are definitely happening, and we get to see the battle Frankies. There's some cool ships in there, but just one on the side, I think it's 27, just has cannons pointing in every direction.
Yeah. It really is like, what if a teenager designed weapons of mass destruction?
Pretty much. And we even see the CP5 agents dressed all in black as they're just hiding as they're attacking. And it's like, I don't know about this world government, man. When we got these people, it's like, we must make sacrifices for justice. It's like, they're hurting innocent people for this whole map thing. And that's like,
Yeah, and I mean, we already saw kind of what CP9 was all about, and and they're the secret ones. They're the ones who are like, we can basically do whatever in the name of justice. And here we have kind of the lower rung Cypherpol agents. Just it's like, we must make sacrifices for justice as we just bomb innocent people. Basically, it really kind of like the morality here is pretty black and white.
Yeah, it's like you said, CP5 is like a known one. Obviously, they don't get blamed for it, but it makes you wonder. Well, we guess we're getting examples of what CP9's doing, but what the heck have they done in the past?
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, and really, I feel like this is like, okay, there have probably been no short number of atrocities committed in this world by the CP agents, just so that the government can get what they want, basically.
Yeah, it's like. There are certainly bad pirates.
Baby.
There's some bad government agents, and like nobody's really
exactly.
Like there's not one clear good side in all this.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, Franky, Iceberg, Tom sees all this happening. They're leaping across all the ships trying to get to them, and Tom and Iceberg are just about to arrive, and the CP5's agents see them and immediately abandon ship. And they're like,
nope.
What the heck? Where is everybody? What's going on here? That's when CP5 shows up with theirs to start destroying the ships, and Spander's just laughing his butt off. It's like, oh my God, that's such a punchable face.
Yeah, oh God, he's so terrible. And you just like, poor, Iceberg and Tom basically just like caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, just completely injured. You see a like spear out of Tom's chest. He's just not in great shape. Franky's worried about them. It's like, what's going on? And first thing Iceberg does when he wakes up is punch Franky.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, he knows. It's like, this is all your fault.
Yeah, and he just lays it out. He knows exactly what happened. The secret agents took control of the battleships and are trying to blame us, trying to blame you. It's through you that they're hurting Tom to get those blueprints. As Iceberg says, it doesn't matter if you're the one who pulls the trigger, or they still have the power to hurt someone. If that's someone, that could be a person you love, you have to take responsibility for these weapons.
Yeah, and the responsibility part, I think, comes to a head in a little bit in a way that I really like.
I think Oda has some opinions on some gun control.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
One Piece having real world themes. Who would have thought?
Yeah, that's never had that before. But even still, with a harpoon sticking out of his chest, Iceberg is like, it's not Franky's fault. Don't blame him. And I think I see where he's coming from, but I kind of feel like I'm more on Iceberg's side on all this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you say that again? Like my headphones like crapped out for a second.
Oh, I said how Tom was telling Iceberg not to blame Franky. It's not as Franky's fault. And I'm like, I think I'm
no, it kind of is.
Yeah. Yep. Franky's apologizing. Tom just going, it doesn't even hurt. It's not even a scratch on me. And we see a description from Franky's like, this harpoon is made to go in, but not come out. Like it is stuck in there.
All of what were you making with all these horrible weapons?
He really did want to take out the Neptunians with these weapons, and
yeah,
you can see why he's finally succeeded. It gets to the point where like all these, of course, government agents and Spandam shows up, like ready to arrest them. Like, these are your attackers. They have him lined up with Tom still with the spear sticking out of his chest. Like, dear God.
Yep. Oh my goodness.
Everybody's immediately kind of suspicious. Like he's declaring all this in front of him, and they're all like, why would he do this? He's like, if he waited for the trial, he would have been declared innocent. So what's the point?
Yeah, exactly.
And God, that gleeful look on Spandam's face. It's like, just try to get out of this one. Man, Oda's good at making punchable faces.
Yeah, he really is. He really is. Yeah, I think, honestly, as far as the manga goes in broad terms, Spandam might have one of the most punchable faces.
I think so. My God.
Yeah, I'm quickly remembering why, like, this dude is just the worst.
Yeah. Like, he's one of those examples of, he's obviously not powerful. He's just a worm who gets his way. And that's
exactly.
That's always the worst when you see these guys using his position to get what he wants, and then laughing about it because as if he's actually powerful.
Yeah.
Ugh. But good on this judge because he's like, the sea train was brilliant. It bettered everything. I was positive I was going to be pardoning you today, but yet you're compounding your crimes. And Franky just lays it out. It's like, we weren't the ones. It was Spandam, and immediately causes the crowd to laugh. It's like, oh no.
Right, it's just like, hey, I mean, this one guy in the crowd's got a point. It's like, they're both in the government. Like, why would they do that? When you're like, yeah, why would they? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Of course, they can't tell them that we have plans that would create a world, destroy the world. That doesn't look good. So, but yeah, that's when we get the whole thing. It was like, Spandam's like, hey, your name's Cuddy Flam. We caught you red-handed, and those ships were built by your company, were they not? And Franky's just like, I didn't build them for that. And after what they did, they're not my ships anymore. And Tom's been going with this the entire time, but hearing those words, Tom breaks his chains.
Yeah, he breaks the chains.
And punches Franky in the face.
Yep.
Didn't blame him for getting a harpoon in his chest, but he says he's not their ships anymore, and that's when he punches Franky.
Yeah. Oh, and that's also, I mean, during the speech to him, that's when he just pulls out the harpoon too, which I didn't register the first time I read that.
Yeah, the harpoon that's designed not to come out, he pulls out without a thought, because he's on his speech. He's like, not my ships. That is one thing you must not say, because there's nothing good and nothing bad in building a ship, no matter what kind of ship it is. I don't care what kind of ships you build from now on, but no matter who gets injured by the ships you build, even if it looks like they'll destroy the world, you're the one who gave them life. You have to at least love them. So that's when we get to his whole thesis.
I love this speech so much.
Yeah.
It is so, I mean, that feels like a line from the person who built the ship of the King of the Pirates would say. Like, you have to take ownership over the things that you built.
Yeah.
And this also reminds me a lot of that bit in Arlong Park with Nami's flashback, right? I think Nami said something to Belmer, like, we're not real family anyway. And that's kind of what, like, caused her to punch her own daughter in the face or something like that. It was basically like, hey, like, you crossed the line. You don't, like, there are some things you don't say.
This is the thesis of your character that you need to get in your head.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the whole core point of it. And it ties back to to Tom's whole thing where it's like, puff out your chest with pride and boom over the ships they build. If your pride in what you've done matters more than anything else.
And I think it's needless to say that is probably something that still carries into Franky and Iceberg, like, into the current day.
Oh, without a doubt. But also, completely makes sense why Iceberg wants nothing to do with the government.
Yeah, nothing to do with the government and nothing to do with Franky.
Yeah. And we end the chapters like, no matter what, don't interfere with what's about to happen. It's like, oh boy.
Oh no.
we know what's coming with this.
He's got a plan.
That's never good.
Yeah.
Oh boy, but yeah, let's just do it and get to chapter 357, Cutty Flam, with a nice little spread.
Yeah.
Once again, Oda with a good drip.
Yeah, Oda with a good drip. Chopper's got margaritas. I don't know if a miner should be handling alcohol, even if he's a reindeer.
There's a random giant giraffe behind him. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get back to the flashback, and everybody's screaming like, "Hey, Tom's gotten violent all of a sudden. We need to run away." And Tom's like, "The people who framed us is also the ones that are deciding my fate. There is no way I'm going to get clear to suspicion. So this is the end."
I like that he's kind of thinking through this. Like, this is, and when you think about it, is kind of what he's about to do is the most logical approach. Although maybe there's a bit of emotional satisfaction to it too.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think it's never confirmed, but it seems to be heavily implied that I think Tom lost an eye, like the eye that's bleeding.
Yeah, no, I hadn't noticed, but you're probably right.
Yeah, it's never outright said or anything like that, but he is
now. Yeah, now that I'm looking at it at later pages. Oh yeah, bro, totally. I wonder if the anime had to have like censored that somehow.
Oh, absolutely. They got.
I find that hard to believe.
You know, all the stuff with Sanji's flashback. They definitely lessened this in the anime. Not a doubt in my mind.
Yeah. Wow. Huh.
And it's the first time we've gotten Tom's inner thoughts as well, where he's just saying how it's like it breaks his heart to see that stuff Franky built used for something like this. And he's like, you really want to punch this guy, don't you? And he just does it.
Yes.
He punches Brandon like, thank you, Tom. You're a good dad.
So satisfying. Yeah. Or he's just kind of like, yeah, you would have just punched this guy in the face.
Mm-hmm. And Iceberg is convinced like they can't do anything, prove anything yet. But if you start getting violent, Tom's just repeatedly punching Phantom in the face until Phantom's like, no, shoot him. And yeah, he gets shot, but
a tranquilizer bullets, to be clear.
Yeah. I actually caught me off guard. I thought they just outright shot him, but no.
Yeah, me too.
And of course, he's immediately just like did nothing. Just got punched in the face, but he's still laughing over him. It's like, oh, this freaking Phantom.
Right, yeah, it's like he got punched in the face. He's missing a tooth, and somehow it still feels like he can get the last laugh. Yeah,
and just because he's like, hey, there you go. There's all the proof. Restrain him and round up the rest of the Tom's workers. They're going to Enos lobby. And the thing that really stings about this flashback is how quickly the people turned on Tom.
Yeah, and that I feel like knowing now, like that his, like the Sea Train is his legacy, and to have it kind of so quickly that they were just like, oh yeah, this guy was bad news all along. Like it really feels like it. As we're kind of seeing here on the next page, where Tom is just like, he's like, I take full responsibility. It's kind of like he's taking it all down with him. Yeah. He's doing it all. None of these guys knew anything, which is why Iceberg is likely able to become mayor, along with his deeds. But yeah, it's like, I did it all, but I have a favor because, as you said, one crime can be forgiven by the creation of the Sea Train. Then I want you to erase today's crime.
So erase this attack on the judicial ship. And the judge is like, yeah, but that would basically be back where we were 14 years ago. You'd be given the death penalty for building the Pirate King ship. That's exactly how I have it, because I'm proud I aided that man called Roger. It's like,
and that, so good.
Yeah,
Which
that's
ties back to his speech from the last chapter. You know, about having pride in the things that you build, and so, man, God.
I like also it's subtle, but I like what Oda's been doing ever since Arlong, because we got introduced to Arlong's pirates, and it's just like, oh god, all these fishmen are terrible. It's like, no, just like every organization, there are good and bad, and we've seen the rehabilitation of Hachi. We've seen now Tom. We had that one fishman just hanging out with the other pirates anyway. There's like, Arlong was just an extreme example of a terrible, terrible person.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too that it's like he introduces them at their most extreme. And maybe even like that goes for kind of like the Navy too, in some regards, who are all kind of like cartoonishly evil until Smoker shows up. Yeah. We're kind of the I think that's where he really gets into kind of the ideals of justice and kind of the more great. I feel like there's a lot of gray morality in all factions of One Piece.
Yeah, there's absolutely no faction in this that has 100%.
Yeah, there's like
clean.
Purely good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, even the when you get into things like Skypiea, and things like the Skypians and the Shandians, like that's also another example that I think Oda is able to toe that line in a really smart way.
Yeah, it's the bonds between people that matter, not the organizations on the whole. And very subtle, clever way of handling all that. Everybody starts calling out at Tom, and Tom is just dead set on comforting Franky through all this.
Yeah. Also, he tanked those tranquilizer bullets, by the way.
He really did.
Yeah,
he gets some last words out before he passes out. He's just like, everything's different now. The island has regained its former strength. No matter what happens to me, I'll live on as the town grows stronger. My dream has finally set sail, and that's when he passes out. And
oh man,
Franky just left there with him, and Iceberg has to take care of the blueprint and just get these last bits, and Spandam's still lording over all this, but he doesn't get the last laugh because he's saying, hey, take all three, and it's like, no, the judge, again, good judge, the name of the crime has changed. He's been forgiven that crime as he asked. Now it's only down to the building of the Pirate King ship. So the only Tom is being taken to Enies Lobby.
I do kind of find it funny that there's like it's almost like a free pass, or it's like, what crime would you like to use your free pass on today?
Yeah,
I can only forgive one crime, but you've committed two.
You've got one get out of jail free card. So
yeah, exactly. And hey, yeah, good on that judge for being reasonable. It's like, I mean, hey, I can only pardon one crime.
I wonder if he's suspicious as well. Like, obviously, we'll never hear from him, but I do wonder.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, maybe just as a reader, like I feel like you see someone like Spandam is like you can read through the bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as Kirkrow says, nothing can save Tom now. We're dealing with the world government. There's nothing we can do. And she's like, we've only seen her kind of laugh and flippant this entire time from the moment we've met her, but we actually see her crying at this moment. It's like,
this is probably why she drinks through the pain.
Probably.
Which is dark.
Very dark. And the other thing is, we get some needed descriptions here for what seems to be coming up by the end of this set of chapters, where we learn that Enies Lobby is the judicial island in the possession of the government. No criminal who's been taken there has ever come back alive. Not one.
Yeah, which I feel like they've mentioned Enies Lobby a couple of times up till now, but I feel like, you could kind of infer what it's all about, being like, oh yeah, there's a government island near here. It's like, okay, yeah, it's.
But it's also,
things go in, things don't come out.
Yeah, it's one of those. Welcome to Alcatraz, essentially.
Yeah.
Phantom's ready to depart. He's kicking Tom as he's just passed out, and Franky can't take it. He takes a bat or a sword or something like that, just a blunt instrument. Yep. And smacks Brandon with as hard as he can.
Right in the face. Oh, again, just incredibly satisfying.
Totally satisfying. And Yeah. We've seen Tom's strength. You know he was holding back when he punched Spandam. Franky did not, because Spandam's like, his face is smashed in, as people were saying. Like, he is not in great shape.
Incredible.
And that's when everybody just shoots Franky and leaves him for dead. And they're on the C train going back, and Spandam's just like all messed up from that experience. And that's when somebody comes in and is like, Spandam, Cuddy Flam is out on the tracks, waiting with some kind of weapon.
What? Yeah, and then you see him, he's packing heat.
Oh yeah, he is. And
he's got
importantly, we never get the explanation for this during the flashback. But importantly, it's Yokozuna who's there.
Yes, of course.
And Spanish is like, is he an idiot? Well, whatever. This is great. Just run him down. Here's a criminal. Franky is ready to destroy the Puffing Tom in order to get back Tom. He's just ready to throw everything away. And he stands there in front of the sea train, ready to intercept it. The bullets do nothing. That's just how good of a ship they've made. And as he stands in front of the tracks, as he remembers being found by Tom, and he's just getting basically adopted by him.
Yeah, well, I love that he laughs. He's like, "Oh, you were thrown out by your parents. That's hilarious."
Yeah, and we get why Franky knows so much about ships, but is more of it is a dismantler. I don't want to build ships anymore. How can I love the ships I've made when they've hurt the people really important to me? But you're still my role model, so I want you to come back and teach me again. And obviously, he can't stand up to this train. But we also get a very important piece of information where he says, because someday I want to build a dream ship too, a ship that can sail to the ends of the world with pride.
And all of that's happening as you just see like the silhouette of like Franky's tattered body hit by the sea train, which is just tragic.
And I think this is honestly one of the most important moments of Water 7 so far. For reasons that didn't even click with me at first, but I feel like it was clicking with it might have clicked with the people reading this at the time.
Oh, for sure.
As they were discussing possibilities.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that. But yeah. Oh, goodness. Well, let's say we get to chapter 358, Reactivation, as Mary got a front page cover where it's hanging out with all the sea life.
I think those are all of the Neptunians from the anime opening.
I think so. Plus I think
that
there's the giant dolphins from that anime opening as well. Basically, just pulling from all of that.
Yeah, that's cool.
That is a cool one, just to see the Mary not in bad shape.
Yeah.
But the flashback's not over yet. Because, everybody's talking about how Cuddy Flam has apparently died, or at least Kokoro was saying Cuddy Flam had apparently died. And she's already in her drinking phase. Didn't even notice that the first time, but she's already drinking now.
Man, that I feel like they don't address how dark that is.
No.
Like it's like, oh, haha, the drunken grandma. That it's just like, oh no, she's coping hard.
Yeah, she is.
It's like, oh jeez.
And Franky's she's drinking herself into a stupor. Yokozuna presumably starts falling after Franky to throw himself at the sea train, but Iceberg is ready to change this town. He is more determined than ever.
Yeah, I like seeing obviously what happened to Tom is just like horribly tragic and messed up for all sorts of reasons, but you are kind of seeing like what losing him has like done to their resolve, and kind of like you're seeing how every character is kind of like they're making a choice, to how do they go on from this. Yeah.
And somehow Franky survived, but he's out in the middle of the ocean when all of a sudden an abandoned ship just happens to roll up next to him. He's amazingly able to crawl on inside of it, and finds all kinds of scrap iron and waste wood, and decides to do something about this body of him. So that's the insane part.
Yeah.
He turned himself into a cyborg.
For some reason, I know I wasn't thinking about this while I read the chapter, but I thought about that dumb line from was it Mega Man X6 or 5 or 5 or 6 where 0 is like, I hid myself while I repaired myself.
That is a very appropriate line for Franky right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
Because you don't really
he was
see
able
it.
to stop his own bleeding and survive being hit by a freaking train in order to turn himself into a cyborg.
Yeah.
Basically cutting off limbs because we've seen his stomach, we've seen his arms. Like seems to be very little of him left that's actually human.
Yeah. There is actually, I remember, I'm not going to say when, it's coming up soonish, where you do see how much of him is cyborgified. And it makes sense logically, but yeah, we'll get to that. That should be coming up pretty soon.
Okay, yeah, I know it's not in this set, but that would be interesting.
Yeah, I remember him explicitly being like, yeah. I do like, however, because we flash forward 4 years later, and this is, it took me a second, but it struck me because this is the scene that they were talking about when when CP9 was explaining how they knew that Franky was Cutty Flam.
Yeah.
Because this is like, he's presumed dead. And then you see here in the flashback, you have a, blanking on her name. The secretary. Yeah, Khalifa. Or, she's like, oh, there's a Cutty Flam here to see you. Yeah, and it's like that was the one time he came here by that name.
Yeah. And she's like, he's like, are you sure? And she's like, he's really unsavory looking and he's wearing a Speedo. Should we let him pass? And I like this. No, get him out of here.
Right, yeah.
Which, man, even says to go away, doesn't actually meet with him. It's just the name Cutty Flam is the one that tipped off CP9.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting. They actually do meet up at the old Tom's Workers base. And we see Franky explaining his body. Transform myself using scrap metal. That's how I survived. And we see his current form. We see how his chin got messed up and his nose, and I assume his the lower eyebrows. They might have different eyes now.
Yeah, hard to tell.
Yeah, it's something else. And he's accusing Iceberg. It's like, why are you accepting contracts from the world government? I can't abide by that. Especially because they're the ones that killed Tom. And of course, Iceberg immediately shoots back. Is that who made the weapons that triggered all that?
I like that despite all what's happened, they still don't get along.
No, not at all. They still fight like this. Iceberg's just saying, I thought you were dead. And even if Mr. Tom forgave you, I had no intention of doing so myself. And it's like there's still bad blood, which makes sense. You can see why Iceberg blames him for that. And, Franky blames himself for this. Yet despite that, Iceberg is this is the moment where Iceberg gives the blueprints for the Pluton to Franky.
Yep, and that's sort of, I think, confirming what we had probably already known at this point, that, the real ones are with Franky right now.
Mm-hmm. And he immediately says, abandon the name Cutty Flam. The government failed to bring these out of Mr. Tom. So it's only a matter of time before they come after me. He just knows.
Yep.
So take that, leave the island.
Get out of here.
Just be Franky. There's no connection to us as long as you don't use that name. And he's like, well, what'll happen to you if you don't have the blueprints then? And Iceberg doesn't answer. He just walks out. And he's like, wait, you want to end up like Tom? This is what's going to happen if you do that. And Iceberg just shoots back. It's like, would you run if you were in my place? It's like,
man.
It's like, no, he definitely would not. It's like Tom accomplished something incredible and threw away everything when they tried to make the future out of those blueprints. So as long as we're in danger of that Nico Robin woman and reactivating the existing weapon, then those blueprints must exist in this world as a opposing force.
Which that really is such an interesting conundrum, isn't it?
Yeah, because he knows nothing about. All he has is stories of Robin. He doesn't know what Robin's actually like or anything like that. So just the threat of somebody being able to find a Pluton is enough to make him hold on to this and have his life in danger to this degree.
Mm-hmm. Although, wait. This is pure conjecture. I'm just making sure that I understand what they're talking about, because I feel like I don't know for certain. So the way that Iceberg's talking is that it's like there's already a Pluton that exists in and so they need to keep the blueprints to build a second one just in case the first one reactivates.
Correct, because Crocodile was not after the blueprints. He only knew that the poneglyph, specifically the one in Alabasta, pointed to where the existing Pluton was.
That's right. Yep.
And that's why he needed Robin. But of course, Robin lied to him about the existence. So she knows where it's at, but she's not telling anybody. Yeah. Let's be honest. If it hasn't been found yet, and it's like that, it has to be near the One Piece. or
Right. Yeah.
it's just in that same area, which also says something. It's interesting about Roger. If it is the case where it's hidden in the same place where the One Piece is, then Roger didn't use this weapon.
Right.
So there's a lot of implications that you can extrapolate from
Yeah.
just these few acts.
Yeah. And actually, as we were having that conversation, I remembered a detail that I can't say.
Of course, because there's always
Yeah,
one
of
those.
course. Yeah, of course. I was like, oh wait, yeah, okay, yeah. I answered my own question basically. But yeah. And that makes sense based on existing information anyway about like, yeah, Crocodile wanted the one that already existed at some point, and we now have the blueprints for the other one.
Yeah, for a potential other one, yeah.
Yeah, for a potential other one. Yeah, to make it again.
We end this flashback with a confirmation that, that despite all this, Iceberg does trust Franky. And although he hasn't forgiven him, he's still really glad he's alive, and we get those manly tears.
The manly tears. I did want to say, I really love what Oda's been doing lately, because a lot of this conversation reminds me of kind of like Luffy and Usopp's debate.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Just in the sense that like he's gotten really good at like these conversations with characters who are both right, and I think that he really is able to kind of draw you in and get you to relate to both, because it's like and that's what creates like the drama and kind of the anxiety is just like you want to root for both characters because they both have a point and they both believe in it so hard, but they're like neither are wrong for feeling the way that they feel. Both, you know,
you get a sense of why Franky stayed and didn't leave. He wants to protect Iceberg.
Yeah, exactly. So they care about each other, even if they're kind of they're at each other's throats. But they do it because they love each other.
Yeah, but yeah, we exit the flashback, and immediately Paulie just not Paulie, but Lucci just makes himself despicable because he just goes over it like in a calm way, not a taunting way like Spandam would have, but he just basically says
he's a little racist.
Yeah, it's like there's all these people were injured back in those days, and nobody had committed that act. And there's this guy. You know, as Cuddy Flame, you did attack a government officer, so yeah, you've committed a crime, and that crime was never answered for because you were alive. So we'll take you to Enos Lobby as a criminal.
Which I feel, the logic is not wrong, but it's needlessly cruel.
Oh yeah, especially just bringing it out as like the out of control fish man and
exactly. I love like Franky's like, I don't even have a comeback. You government people are trash.
Which itself is a pretty good comeback, honestly.
Yeah.
They have a transponder snail nearby. Yeah, their director, the person that controls CP9, wanted to speak to Franky. And as soon as he answers the phone, he's complaining about how he spilled spilled coffee on his lap, and is like, "Oh no, I think I know who this is." And it's confirmed. Spandam somehow worked himself up the ranks from CP5 to director to CP9 director.
I think this might actually be the most realistic part about the world government, because it is just like the most corrupt and slimy people working their way up to the top.
Yep. Franky had an effect on him. He really did cave in his face. He has to have that support mask now. He looks like, some Count of Monte Cristo or something like that. Cristo, not Crisco.
Secretly, Enies Lobby is actually a bondage dungeon.
Oh, God. I mean, it explains the thorn whip.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's what that face says to me.
Oh, God, but... Man, still punchable. Still totally punchable.
Oh, absolutely. Even more so, if anything.
Yeah. Nothing like your past coming back to haunt you. It's just like...
Yeah.
I immediately think of the mouse guy. And I think it was Nezumi from...
from
Nami's situation. It's like, we got one of these again. Crap. But he actually has people to back him up.
Right, yeah. He has power, which is the worst part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I do love this bit where Franky's like, it's Panda. He's like, you forgot the M.
That's what he always calls him. He just drops the M every time.
Yeah.
That has to be some sort of insult in Japanese. With his name. If you drop some part of it, it becomes something else, and it's insulting. But hey, Usopp tries to stand up to
I love this part.
Let him go, and Lucci just glares at him. He's like, "Oh, my apologies." That's all you got?
He just bow. Yeah. He's like, you gave up that fast.
But of course, Kaku recognizes Usopp as a member of the Straw Hats, and then we just float away to not float, but we go to back to the fire at the Galley Law Company, and they're just nothing they do is stopping the fire. When all of a sudden, out of the window bursts Chopper, carrying Polly, Iceberg, and Zoro's sword.
Wow. And God, and he's just like bleeding out and panting, and poor Chopper.
This might be Chopper's most badass moment.
No, seriously, yeah. Like, and the first thing he thinks is he sees Nami, and he's just like, I have to treat her before passing out.
Yeah. And so we have 4 people passed out: Nami, him, Iceberg, and Polly. And they're like, what do we do? Should we treat the reindeer? Yeah, he saved their lives too. Treat the reindeer. And man, what an ending for that! Just to see that.
No, seriously.
They survived, but only thanks to Chopper. It was not Tyrannosaurus like I thought. I thought he would shoot through the ropes, but Tyrannosaurus is there too. Yeah. So it's all good.
Man, Chopper's stepping up. I'm so proud. My heart.
I know you feel for him.
Hope he's okay.
We do have an SBS, but these are definitely the ones we get in this set are definitely on the silly end. Like, oh God, what would happen if Sanji ate the door fruit? These SBSs have gotten really pervy lately. Yeah, they have, and we'll get to that. But that's for another time. For now, let's get to chapter 359, Bingo. And hey, it's time for our new cover series. Number 8, The House in the Jungle. And I recognize that house.
That's going back to Little Garden, baby.
Little Garden. I was going to say at first Mr. 3, but I'm like, I doubt Mr. 3's there. So.
Oh, yeah.
But it is Little Garden, so that should be interesting.
Yeah. All right. Hey, I like that these cover stories are just like, hey, remember Alabasta? And I'm like, yes, I do. Thank you.
I appreciate that. But we begin the chapter with Kaku easily taking down Usopp.
Poor guy.
And Kaku just confirming, it's like, so you left the Straw Hats, but you're still a pirate. Well, if you're a pirate, we'll take you with us. And here's the true cruel part where Kaku is like, yeah, I'm still a shipwright, and yeah, this ship is not in great shape. So when we tell you something's no good, we think you should listen. If this doesn't like really display.
This was crossing the line for me.
This really displays the mindset of the world government. I want this thing. We don't think you should have this thing, but it's mine. Yep. No, if we're telling you it's no good, you need to listen. And we're gonna tell you what's good in this world.
It's the authority above all else.
Yes, and he dumps the water and sends the Mary out into the crashing waves where there's just all kinds of wrecks around.
Yeah, it's just oh my goodness. Oh, that. I had forgotten like that it was like that this is how it happened, and that it was from such a high drop and just in the middle of like a raging storm. And that is like I don't know when we see the Mary again.
I don't know. I can't remember, to be honest, like that. They effectively like it's one of those situations where they killed the Mary. Kind of like that.
Right, yeah, just
like those moments where you lose somebody. And it's interesting to me that even Franky is bug-eyed and freaking out over this.
Right, like, hey, man, that was too far. Like, hey, at least he was willing to dismantle it to kind of give it like he, still understood that it was a ship and that it was meant to be respected, and, that it, kind of wanted to let it go out on its own terms.
And instead it's just dumping it with the,
Right, like it's trash. It's just like, man. That, and I did want to double back just real quick to like, it really is just kind of like the needless cruelty of like where, Kaku basically was like, to Usopp, he's like, yeah, you left the Straw Hats, but you're still a pirate, so we need to take you with us. And it's like, Usopp is like, he's on death's door, man. Like
he is not a threat.
He's not a threat to anybody right now. And you think like, oh yeah, well, you're a pirate, so we're going to take you to like to this dangerous prison island where, nobody's ever escaped from. It's just like, why?
Just no pirates.
Honestly, like, yeah, it feels like it would be just leave him for dead. Like he's gonna drown probably if you leave him here. But it really is like they have complete and total control of the situation, and they're just like, yeah, we'll do what we want. is how it comes off
pretty much. And we leave that whole scene with the back to the Galley Law, or Iceberg might not be a fighter, but my God, he could take a beating.
Yeah, no, he's up.
Shot 5 times the night before, almost burned her crisp, and I think shot again this night. Like, and he's still the first to become conscious. Everybody's like cheering, and it's like, it's all thanks to that reindeer, but I think it's the Straw Hat's pet. And then Paulie's waking up. It's like, oh no, Nami's waking up, and it's like, should we have him off the locations? And Iceberg immediately stands up. Is like, no, I'm talking to this girl alone. It's like, he just immediately apologizes for pinning the false accusation, and it's like, I'll fix that shortly. And he's like, I want to talk about Nico Robin. He immediately asked, when you got to this town, did she start acting strangely? And she's like, yes. Then this morning, we didn't know what was going on, and we didn't know quite why she was doing all of this, because what sort of wish can't be fulfilled because she's with us. And Iceberg actually relays more information that we did not see during his confrontation with her. And I didn't even realize we missed out on this.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is kind of new and important information.
Yeah. He's like, when you lost contact with, or lost sight of Robin, that's when the government operation had already begun. And there's reasons for that. But first, bear in mind that both she and I have the means to awaken the Pluton. She's like, and you know, that it could destroy the world. And Nami's immediately like, what?
Yeah.
And we learned that this happened when we got the call about there as being a hitch in the operation and don't shoot Iceberg. And this conversation is like,
very illuminating.
It is. He's like, even if it kills me, I'm not handing over the blueprints to the government. But at the same time, if you're snooping around the poneglyphs and helping the government, I have to stop you here. And Robin immediately says, it's like, I'm not looking for the poneglyphs so I can activate that weapon. I just want to know history. And again, it does not matter the intention behind it. That's the things that can happen from the intentions. That's no excuse to Iceberg. He is very steadfast in that.
Yeah. And again, I feel like this is another one of those conversations where you really do see where both characters are coming from. Even if you don't quite know what Robin's whole deal is.
No, but, you don't know exactly where she's coming from. You just know she's not about the weapons. She just really wants to know this history for some reason. And there's definitely a sticking point here where he's like, you saw the fate of the demons of O'Hara and still want to chase after history. And she immediately shoots back, you have no idea what O'Hara is about. And you have no idea how much the government has warped my life. So why are you helping them?
Before we move on, I do find it funny that this conversation is happening just after we see Franky be like, Iceberg, why are you helping the government? Yeah. And now he's like, Robin, why are you helping the government?
Why are any of us helping the government?
Yeah.
God, we get these dark looks from her where she's like, there's a wish I want to fulfill, and even if it means throwing everything away. And CP9 presented me with 2 conditions. First was to pin the assassination on the Straw Hats. The second was to turn myself over to the government and obey orders. And he's like, why would you do that when you've been on the run for 20 years? And that's when she reveals something like that I've completely forgot about, that CP9 is granted permission to activate a buster call against the Straw Hat pirates just once. And like a buster call is an emergency order in which 5 vice admirals from the Navy headquarters and 10 warships assemble at the same location. And basically they're like hunting down the Straw Hats at that
That's
point.
A Navy nuke.
Yeah, Navy nuke. Nobody can survive that. She explains that even in the Navy, only the 3 admirals and the head of the Navy, the fleet admiral, are able to exercise that authority. But Aokiji actually gave CP9 the right. It was like, take move, Aokiji.
Yeah, which is interesting. Well, I think I can say this based off of just what we've gleaned here about what a buster call is, and the fact that they have permission to use it on the Straw Hats feels extreme.
Yeah.
And that is actually an element of this I forgot, that it is specifically like, oh yeah, they got the okay to use it on them. It's like, really?
Yeah, and I to me, based on the little bit we've seen Aokiji and how he fought the Straw Hats, he's testing them. He wants to see just how dangerous they are. And and basically, I think he wants to use Robin to end them.
Right, yeah. And I think, because he kind of thought it through, and I guess, I don't know if they got that approval, like, before or after. I guess it would be after Aokiji, fought Luffy and all that.
Yeah.
Because he was kind of thinking through it. He was like, I'm not going to mess with you guys. And then he was like, no, I'm going to mess with you guys a lot, actually.
I'm just going to use Robin to build up the whole thing I said to you about her bringing nothing good to her organization she joins.
Yeah, it's like, I got to teach you a lesson.
Yeah, so she's like, as soon as she heard Aokiji's name, she gave up. It's like, we can't do anything against the Buster call. So I've been able to run away and survive for the past 20 years, no matter the circumstances, because I had nothing to protect, because I could betray others and use them to take the fall from me. But I can't do that with these guys, which is like, oh, damn it, Robin. That's good.
This part got me a little teary-eyed.
Same. We saw her willing to die at the end of Alabasta, but just being with the Straw Hats that little bit throughout Skypiea and whatnot, there's very, like, in the grand scheme of things, it feels like maybe a month at most has passed with the Straw Hats. Mm-hmm. And that's enough time for her, that these dreams that she thought were dead, they brought them back to them, just because of how they pursued Skypiea, this idea, this sense of adventure and this impossibility, and they achieved it. And because of that, she wants them to be safe.
Yeah, and that's her wish.
You'll awaken a deadly weapon. Don't you care what happens to the world? I don't. And Iceberg can do it. She's willing to sacrifice the world for the 6 Straw Hats.
Which is one, oh my god, my heart is melting. Because I feel like because she is, just because of the life that you can presume that she's led, that like she wouldn't ever outwardly show that kind of affection, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but to see it like revealed to the reader, it's like, no, she cares about you so much that she is willing to risk like the entire world, basically.
Best Straw Hat.
Yeah, best Straw Hat. And really, that's sort of, I think, the key like twist here. You know, as Iceberg breaks it down, is like of everyone living on this planet, you know, that woman chose to protect the 6 of you, and it's like she was doing all of this to protect them.
Yeah, and I love this moment with Nami where she collapses from sheer happiness that she didn't betray him, immediately gets the energy to get up. And it's like, and Iceberg's like, you guys were defeated. What can you do now? It's like, what? This is only starting now. The others are fine. We can't be done away with that easily, because hesitating makes us weak. Now that we know that she needs to be saved, we got something to fight for. Our strength will be infinite. It's like, oh, that's a teary-eyed moment too, because it's like, it reminds me so much of when she needed saved.
Yeah, and it's like, how do I want to? I had a way to phrase this in my head, and it just completely lost it. But it's like we had just gotten through like some of the lowest lows that we had ever seen in the crew, and then just like to the revelation coming, like really at the darkest moment. It's like, no, you know, she did this to protect you, and now it's like, we got a reason to fight, so we're gonna fight.
That's all it takes. And then we've seen it before. Exactly. It's like, oh, we have something to protect now. you guys are in trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
And then after God knows how many chapters, we finally see Sanji again. Where
the scene was so hype.
Just that last little bit where like the line we didn't see between him and Chopper is like, what's the matter? And Chopper's like, do you think Robin hates us? Chopper, remember one thing: real men can forgive the lies women tell, and that
shot of him walking away. Oh, and that's god, that's so good.
This is when Sanji's most badass, not during his fights, it's during these moments.
Because it's like, and it is so in character too, because it's like, it's the like the hopelessly in love. I feel like actually making for a really great character moment where Nami and Zoro and Luffy and Chopper, where they're kind of like, they're trying to get the answers directly, but it was like just off of that one interaction, Sanji was like,
yeah, he knew. And and it turns out the only thing he's been doing this entire time is just staking out the station to go to Enos Lobby.
Yeah. It's just in that shot of him like just lighting up his lighter and just like barely lit in the darkness behind the train, and all he says bingo as he lights his cigarette. Like that is those are the best Sanji moments for me. Like this stuff is great.
Agreed. Great chapter.
So good. Great chapter.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and really that feels like after so many lows, that really feels like okay, we have something to fight for. We're ready to get back on our feet.
Yeah, this is the relief. That was the lowest point, what we just went through, and now it's time to start picking ourselves up. It really does feel like that, just from Nami's words, because Nami's not a fighter, but she has such belief in everything.
Exactly.
we do have an SBS basically confirming that, yes, Water 7 is based off Venice. And I didn't realize that it actually has a high tide called Aqua Alta. So that was cool.
Yeah.
I did not realize that was a whole thing. Also, okay, the first one did get a joke, a chuckle out of me, where it's like, I got a friend who tells me I saw Oda standing at a magazine rack looking at a dirty magazine. And Oda's like, no, how rude. As if I stand around in the store reading magazines like that, I'd buy them. That's all right. That got me.
Yeah. That's pretty funny.
Well, final chapter for this set, 360, Departing Soon. And we see that it's actually focusing on Miss. Oh God, I forgot her name.
Miss Golden Week.
It was Golden Week. Okay, I was gonna say Golden Week,
Yeah.
but I'm like, wait, I think that's wrong. But yeah, Golden Week. Who's getting a newspaper from? Somehow they know to come there, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
But it's all focused on her, where she wants to have a Baroque reunion. Now that is fascinating. Like
I'm actually really excited about this.
Yeah,
one.
what is Baroque Works up to? There's so many of them that it's like actually kind of interesting.
Yeah, you could. That's what a good cover story does. Is it kind of gets your mind going. At like, where could this go?
Seeing what's his name stuck in the ground, Gadatsu stuck in the ground. That didn't get me to be like, where can this go?
Yeah, and it's not like, I'm not like the biggest Miss Golden Week stan over here. Like she had probably about as much to do as Gadatsu did, but I don't know. Maybe it was because Gadatsu's gimmick was so bad that
yeah,
I didn't really want to.
Her gimmick did not
her.
wear out its welcome. That's for
exactly.
Sure.
Yeah, it was just, you know what? Hey, I'm willing to see this character do something fun.
But yeah, we go back to Water 7, just see the crazy winds and waves going on. And of course, Robin's the first to board the sea train to Enies Lobby. We see all the government agents from before, and they're just, of course, all happy, just so proud of themselves for the nothing they did.
It's like, yeah, we did nothing, but we got you 20 years. Also wanted to point out that it's this, like to get the timeline straight here. Mm-hmm. So like the whole flashback with Tom, that was 22 years ago, right?
Yes. There's a point later on where he actually shows them, like not during that first flashback, but after the first time skip during the flashback, that he finally shows Robin's poster.
So whatever had happened during that flashback, basically.
Yes. And I think that's why Iceberg knows about these demons of Ohara that Robin is somehow connected to.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I hadn't put two and two together there, but yeah. Huh.
Mm-hmm. Oda keeps track of this stuff very well.
No, he really does. And again, all of this being like tied so closely to like Gold Roger's execution, like even now, 800 chapters later or whatever, like there's still so much about this time period that we don't know. But it is so fascinating to be like how many kind of like pivotal things like are starting because of that, or just like around that same time. And
then we get Sanji. I like this. It's like, how do I play this one? It's like, okay, she's obviously being escorted, but she could easily run away if she wanted to on her own. Does she have some objective, or is there a reason she can't run? He's like trying to just figure out the situation. Then of course we have to have goofiness as he's like fulfilling his Mr. Prince role.
Seriously,
that face.
He's just on his knees, just like laughing to himself.
And then we see CP9 have both Franky and Usopp together. And Franky's knocked out. He has a bump on the head. He definitely doesn't want Franky calling out the things. And yeah, nobody cares about Usopp. So
what are the other agents mentions like, I think the guy chastising Robin is Corgi, who we saw trying to get the blueprints from Iceberg way back when. I didn't put that together either.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. Yeah, I remembered him. He's not super important or anything like that.
I forgot. I was like, oh, yeah, that guy.
Yeah. But I love how as soon as Lucci's back, it's like, all right, we got to get you some extra drip. So here's a code. And I'm like, my God.
Yeah, this isn't a game. Look sharp. Okay. I mean, you guys were already dripped out before. But
yeah, looking good. Like, my God. I
don't know if the coat's necessary.
Oda's like, I need to make this man cooler.
It's working.
Getting ready to depart for Enies Lobby. That's when, of course, Sanji sees Usopp. He's like, do you say something about causing us trouble to the very end? Because he's planning to cause us trouble even after leaving the crew. It's like, what the heck am I in for now? I'm going to save Usopp and Robin now.
He's just going to like, oh.
And then we just get the sweetest face from Chopper. He's like, oh, she doesn't hate us. Yay.
Yep. And I love the guys in the background. It's like, it turned into a raccoon.
All right, it's like, all right, we got to go find Luffy and the others and go save Robin. It's like, all right, we'll go look. Where are they? I don't know. That's why we're looking for them. All right, look really hard. It's like, it's good to see them in good spirits.
Yeah, the fact that that's all it took was knowing that Robin needed help. It's just my heart.
Yeah, but things can't be too easy because, the only way to get the Enos lobby is with the sea train, especially with Aqua Laguna happening. But that train leaves at 11 o'clock. It is now 10:30. They got
now we've got a time limit
to find everybody, and that's like, oh, that's not good. So we'll have to get to the station, get on the train, and persuade Robin face to face. There's somehow no way. Nami goes to intercept the train, sends Chopper off in the directions that Luffy and Zoro flew, and that's when Polly wakes up and is like, hey, you guys, help her out. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, and I love the kind of like, of course, they're naturally like, hey, these guys are the criminals. We need to find Lucci and Kaku. But they're, I like the play that Paulie has here because he kind of is just like, like the Straw Hats are innocent, but like he doesn't tell them the full truth. Yeah,
it's like they got pulled into this by the real assassins. We falsely accused them. Don't know who they are because they were wearing masks. I was like, they all just he really does just say the truth the entire time, just omits the identities. So it's only because of them. So I don't think we'll be seeing Lucci and Kaku. Just help them and we'll do that. And I like how they're like complaining. He's like, take some responsibility. You want to damage the Galilod name? Like he just has that much pride.
Yeah, I love that even the excuse he has is bad. He's just like, what happened to Lucci and them? It's like, they ran him back to Mamba. It's like, what?
He's not wrong when he says that, though.
Yeah.
This is so cute where they're all joining them and Chopper's calling out for him. And he's like, hey, you guys help call too. And they're like all calling for the two, for Sanji and Zoro.
The way this turned around so quickly. And now it feels like they have the whole town back behind them. Even if they don't know the full truth, it's just like, hey, we got to help these guys out.
It's amazing how much the joy just comes in so immediately.
Yeah, and that's good storytelling, man. Is to bring you down to the lowest lows and then to slowly bring you back up.
Yeah, we got that time limit where it's already just 20 minutes before the train departs. Don't leave, Robin. Going alone, sacrificing yourself will never let you do those things. And, oh man, we just see Robin by herself. We see Usopp and Franky loaded up.
Are they like thrown into the cargo? They've got like boxes behind them.
I love this. It's like, you idiots, be more careful. And Usopp's like, yeah, you idiots, government trash. Let's not go that far. You can tell it's definitely getting a bit more hopeful because their jokes are coming a lot more frequently now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when we have even less of a time limit because Aqua Laguna is approaching, so we're pushing the schedule forward and departing shortly. So we got less than 20 minutes left.
Yep.
And Sanji's just waiting on the outside. It's like, okay, what do we do?
Yeah.
And God, the looks on CP9 where it's like Khalifa's just like, mission's almost completed, and Lucci's like, keep careless comments like that to yourself, idiot.
No, fair.
And Kaku looks like he's just seen some things.
Yeah, it's just straight face. I mean, because I feel like there really is the like, hey. Don't I do love how no nonsense Lucci is, where he's just like, we didn't do it yet,
Yeah. Until we have those documents, the blueprints, we're not done.
Yeah.
We got just wonderful little moments where Iceberg's worried about Franky. We got everybody looking for for Luffy and Zoro, and then Sanji is like wondering what they're up to, but decides to run off towards the train. And we get our confirmation of what happened to Zoro and Luffy, where Luffy got stuck between buildings again, and Zoro got stuck in a chimney because because his foot slipped and he got lost. Because of course we had to end in the most ridiculous way possible.
Yeah. Again, I feel like this would be another one of those things. I'm fairly confident saying that like this probably doesn't last too long. But I remember watching the anime and just rolling my eyes. Just like, oh my god.
Here it kind of makes sense.
I mean, they both got yeeted. Yeah, it makes sense. But I don't think it'll be too long before they find them.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't feel like it. There's too much of a short time limit for them to be stuck there for a long time.
Yeah.
But it makes me so excited for what's coming up. Because honestly, this is where I start getting a bit foggy. Other than like the big moments, this is where I definitely get foggy on this whole arc. So I'm excited to see more. But despite all the silly ones, we did get a pretty big lore one for our SBS.
Yeah, I'm really glad he explained this here.
The explanation of the devil fruit. So the idea is, are there multiple different devil fruits, and is it possible for multiple people to eat the same fruit? And the answer is nope. There's only one of each, and it's impossible to divide a fruit because just as soon as one bite is taken, it'll turn into just a normal, nasty tasting fruit. Nothing will happen. That's interesting. It can like apparently tell when somebody's gotten the power.
Yeah, I guess that's just it then.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense for the world to have something different because you don't want to have a bunch of same powers wandering around. That's not as interesting. Although it would be something to see, like find Luffy had like, it's another Rubber Man.
Yeah, I mean, it would be funny if it was like, oh, we have to get the pieces of the devil fruit, some like weird dumb padding thing, or just like, oh, I ate just like a scrap of the gum fruit, so now I have your powers too. I'm glad he's not going in that direction.
Yeah, it's just like, nope, one bite each. That's all you get.
Yeah, that's it. Which I feel like we've seen characters on screen eat them whole, which is like,
true.
If it tastes terrible and all you need is one bite, like just eat the one.
I mean, Buggy did his by accident. He was hiding it and then swallowed. But and then we get an example of what the actual longhorned cowfish looks like. So, yeah.
Man, lots of really good stuff this week.
No kidding.
We got backstory, we got lore, we got revelations, we got it all.
It's just all, we got a very, very hateable villain at the head of all these other villains.
Yeah.
It's just seeing the pieces all come together.
You really get the feeling
super satisfying.
Oda is 5 steps ahead of us.
Yeah.
You really see him just planting all of the little things.
He knows exactly how everything is going to play out, without a doubt.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's so good.
It really is.
And I think that's why that Sanji moment just blows me over so much, because it really is just like, and it's as simple as a character being like, I'm gonna go do my own thing for a bit, be right back, and then like 20 chapters later he's like, oh yeah, so I'm here right now.
Yeah.
But there's so many other things happening that you forget, and it's just like the sleight of hand feels so natural.
You wonder what he's up to, and it's a very simple explanation. He's just staking a place out, but it's also perfectly in character for him.
Yeah,
so it doesn't feel like, why wasn't he doing anything?
I think it hadn't quite landed for me that the reason that he did it was because he didn't need an explanation, but he knew that whatever Robin was doing was, like she was not telling the full truth.
That's the great part about Sanji's character, I think. Yeah, right there.
And I love that they all believed in her.
Yeah, they believed in her, and just to get that confirmation, it's like, oh, thank goodness. It's like
they're all ready to get her back.
Yeah, just that it being Nami, that being like that hits hard. So yeah. But with that, I believe we've said all we wanted to say about chapters 356 to 360 of One Piece. Longer episode today because, boy, there's a lot to talk about.
It was packed.
Yeah. So thank you so much for listening. And you can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at BitNerd Games on YouTube, or BitNerd with an underscore at the end on Twitter. And Brandon, where can everyone find you at?
I'm at Brandon Bovia on Twitter, talking about anime, manga, games, and my job. That's just... Excuse me. Yeah, that's just it.
Yeah, definitely check that out. And hey, if you'd like to help us out more, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/Derek Bittner. That's DERRICKBITNER to listen to the next episode ad-free 3 days early. And make sure to return next time, as we don't cover the next set of chapters, but instead return to the movies for number 6, Baron Amatsuri and the Secret Island. And while it sucks that we have to leave the manga behind, trust me, this is a good one.
Not to hype up this movie too much, but it's my favorite One Piece movie of all time. So.
Yep, same. I've not seen all of them, but this is my favorite.
Yeah.
Look forward to that one next time, my friends.
Yeah. You got good taste, Derek.
You too.
Yeah. Remember to take life one piece at a time.
Picked up the life I gave up on. Returned the heart I lost. and continued the dreams that I no longer believed in. Even after all I've done, I've found friends who will still believe in me.